Today we're starting Mistika Essentials Day 3. And first of all, thank you very much for joining me in these sessions. This has been a very cool experience and I'm really enjoying it a lot. I hope it's the same case with you, but I see loads of people repeating in these live sessions, which is great. You know that you're going to have these available on SGO and ICA channels and websites later during the week. But it's still really cool to have you here live, because if you have any questions, I might be able to answer them. Just a reminder that please join the Mistika 10 Global Community Slack group. Go there and just like Marcel had a question now, make that question in the group. There's a very wide number of Mistika ninjas there that can help you with any questions that you might have. Okay, and again, there's no new media, but for those that maybe are seeing their first session, remember that during the whole Essentials class, we are building a whole online process, and there's media to follow through the classes to learn how to do all these things in Mistika. Okay, you will find in the documentation folder of the link there, the new PDF for today's session. So what are we going to do today? Well, we're going to do a whole online Conform session. We're going to conform an XML, and we're going to learn to relink the media. I'm trying to kill two birds with one stone here and show you actually how to conform an XML and at the same time relink anything in the future, so you could also learn to relink. We're going to import a reference MOV file, and we're going to start doing a conform check. Mistika, in this case, is a bit trickier than maybe other softwares and doesn't have a conform check tool per se, a built one, but we're going to build our own. And in the process, we will learn how the Mistika Node Effects work. We will see if the resizes have imported correctly into our project. We will fine-tune the Timewarps that are in the XML. We will check in fade-ins and fade-outs. And in the process, we will create conform presets accessible from every single project. We're going to learn the effects nodes, wipes, nonlinear mix, comp3ds, and channels. Those are most of the nodes that we are going to be working on today. We are going to build dummy clips in the process and multiple layer groups, okay, which is going to make this interesting not only as conform tools, but in the future as you start building your own effects and your own color grading nodes and stuff like that. We're going to stabilize the shots in comp3D, import a new EDL to import graphics, work with alpha channels, learn to manipulate the alpha, comp graphics over our images, work the transparency, and add a shadow. Then we will quickly denoise shots with Mistika's built-in Denoise Effect and with DVO Plugins Clarity. And finally, we will learn how to cache our clips to have real-time playback and obviously have the ability to work in real time with clips that have had heavy denoise effect applied. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do for a second. Okay. And now let's get back. So first thing, we're going to go to the Mistika config tool. Firstly, to double check that we are using the preset that we created the first day, okay, which is the ICA Mistika Essential one, okay. But just remember, this is based on the factory preset of 1920 by 1080, but it is set at 25 frames per second, okay. If we go to file paths, 1 second, please take care of changing the playback cache directory, because, for example, here in this case, I'm using a very fast SSD M2 drive that I have in my computer, okay, which actually you can see it's labeled already with cache name, precisely to cache anything that I want to for real-time playback. Please also choose the fastest drive that you have in your system to perform this operation. By default, Mistika does it in the system drive, and you might not want to do that, okay? So I'm just going to hit cancel there because I already have it configured. And this is especially important for the very end of the project of today's class. Okay, so we're going to press OK, and we're going to launch Mistika Boutique. So okay, I'm going to go to our ICA Mistika Essentials project. Okay, and we have here the timeline that we worked on last week. I'm not going to need it for now, but maybe some of you guys have been doing some color grade work on it, whatever. So you still want to have it. For the purpose of today's class, we are not going to use it. So I'm just going to hit on new timeline. I think I didn't really show that in previous classes, how to open a new timeline in Mistika. It's as easy as right-clicking over the timeline and hitting new timeline. In the media folder, you do have kind of a file with a plus sign on. You have, that's the icon. And as soon as you click there, Mistika opens a new timeline for you, okay? Please navigate to where we have the media I've sent you for the classes, the ICA Mistika Essentials, because over there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the documentation folder, and over here I've got EDL, PDF, and XML, and we're going to use the XML for today's session. And in the XML, we're going to use the nutseed milk recipe. I really want to thank my friend that allowed me to use these videos for these classes. And actually check it out once you finish. They're quite good vegan recipes of this. So to learn to conform an XML, well, it's just as easy as double clicking, and the Conform XML menu will pop up. In this case, I'm going to start the conform at 0. One thing to take care of here is I've double clicked now, but you can also drag and drop it. When you drag and drop it, Mistika will kind of think that you really want to conform the files to where you drop them in the timeline. And that's why it says they're 1909 right now. But you could also ask Mistika to get this from the list from the XML file, and it will automatically go to whatever it was defined on the XML. You could choose here if you want the effects in the XML to be included, to flatten the XML effects. If you want to import all the video tracks, videos 1, 2, and 3. And you could also obviously here choose to search for the media after the timeline import. Normally we would do this, and we've already linked the media, but I really want to take advantage of the classes and to show you as many things as possible in one go. So I'm going to say, do not link the clips to media over here. And this is going to conform a timeline with no linked media, but I'm going to be able to ask Mistika to fetch the files that we need from the storage. Okay, so I'm just going to hit next. And obviously here it's going to ask me to give it a name, and I'm going to say XML timeline. Okay, just to define it, and just in case, 01. Okay, so now you can see when there's something offline in Mistika, you see this kind of checkered box, checkered flag here. Okay, and this is a sign that the media is offline in Mistika. To solve this, what we're going to do is actually just select the clip, go to media, and in this icon, and over here, you are going to find a small icon of chain, obviously of two chains that are linked together, and you're just going to hit it, and it's going to open the relink window. And here, the easiest thing to do, obviously, in this project is we just have to go to, so one thing is it's telling you the location, obviously the location that was defined in the XML document and where the new location is. One funny thing of this as well, well, if you go to the attributes, it's going to say that media is not linked there. So obviously there's enough information out there pointing you to, well, telling you that the media is not linked. So again, going back to my media manager, and over here, I know that this is in original camera negatives, in ARIA, video, in day one, chocolate, C05, okay? And you can see here that automatically it's popping up in my source monitor as well. That path name is already now on the second field in my window. And then over here, right now, I could say all clips or only clips without media. This is when you only have a few clips that do not have media. And in this case, it doesn't really matter because all of them are unlinked. So I'm just going to press perform. And Mistika is obviously telling you that there's 35 clips that cannot find the media. Do you want to try relinking them by replacing one line with another? And you can say, okay. And all clips in the current timeline were successfully relinked. You should now save the timeline under new name using save as option to keep the changes. Well, you don't need to save them as a new name. You just can hit save and it will be saved. But obviously you could also use save as if you wanted to. So in the record monitor, I need to remember that so you guys can see what I'm seeing here. I need to deactivate the live video output in my system. And we can see here that we have our clips imported. Okay, and this actually, there's some shots that are going to need a little bit more care. So what are we going to do for this? Obviously, we're going to check this with an MP4 file that you also have. We've already imported this. We're going to go to media. Let's hit the house, and this is going to go to the data folder of our project. And over here, it's going to be exactly in reference H264. And there we have it, okay? I'm just going to drag and drop it into the timeline, and there it is, okay? We have a new clip in there, and I'm just going to position this on 0. To do this, I could have actually what I was about to do is select my first clip and select those two and press over here align, and that would have aligned them. But the other thing that I can do is obviously use the calculator, select to use anything that I have selected in my timeline to be the agent where I'm going to apply the action, and just hit set position, and it will go to the exact time code that in this case, I haven't typed in. It's that's been like really easy, okay? Now, this is a clip with sound. I not going to bother too much with the sound right now. So what I'm going to do is break this and maybe leave it down at the bottom here to maybe use it at some other moment. The other thing that I can do here, what I'm going to do, this is just kind of like a safe measure. It's actually, I'm going to clone this conform, okay? And as soon as I hit with Alt button pressed, and I press with the left button of the mouse, it will automatically clone the shots, and you can see now these shots are overlapping over each other, and that's why it's flagged as red. And we can move this down, and the reason I'm doing this is just to be safe. I'm going to group them over here into one single group and hide them. And hide them there for a second. Going to lock them so nothing changes here, and then hide it. Just in case I need to come back to recover anything if I need to or consider it necessary. I'm not saving it in another timeline. I have it in my timeline just protected under a group and also hidden, so it's not really bothering me, okay? So it's just there if I need to, but I don't have to do nothing else. Just because I've locked it, now I can't move it. See, I'm trying to move it, and you can see here in the attributes that it's not only locked, but it's also hidden, okay? If you press H again, it will be unhidden. H works as a toggle, okay? And the lock works as a toggle as well, L, okay? And in this case, we will hide it and lock it so it can't be moved and we can't see it. But just in case, I leave it there just to be safe. So
we have some questions. Maybe if you wanna answer them before you move on.
Yeah.
So Zoe wanted to know what was the shortcut to clone this that you used before.
Okay, so the shortcut to clone, just select the clip, press the Alt button, and just click on it, and that will clone it, okay? Then there's another thing. Over here, you have the button clone here. If you select a clip and press clone, it will be cloned there as well. There's another interesting thing here as well, is that if I type in here a number, 25, okay, well, maybe 25 is a bit too dangerous. Let's just say 5, okay? I select that, my reference clip on top and press clone. Mistika is going to say, you're about to clone this 5 times. Do you really want to do this? And I say, okay, yeah. And actually, I'm going to do a bounding box here to select them. And then I'm going to press pack to the left. And Mistika will just put them one after the other in the timeline, okay? For this case, might not be useful, but maybe when we're working with graphics that we're going to be using in many different edits that are in our same timeline, that might be really helpful, okay? So maybe have it in mind in the future, okay?
That's a cool trick. So also Jeff was asking, when aligning, how does Mistika know which clip to align to which? In other words, which clip stays put and which clip moves?
That's a great question. So let's misalign this for a second. So if I, basically the rule is very simple. I'm selecting one clip and I'm selecting here, let's not select the first one. So let's make this like really obvious. Let's select the third one, okay? And over here, Mistika is going to align it to the endpoint that is further to wherever you choose, okay? So it's going to, when you say align to the left, it's going to choose the endpoint that is most to the left in the timeline, okay? So for example, there right now, it just aligned it to that endpoint. I'm going to undo this for a second, and now I'm going to hit align to the right. So what it's going to do, it's going to align it to the furthest point to the right. So actually now it will move the shot number 3 to the very end of the reference clip over there, because it was the point in our timeline that was further to the right. Okay, so that's how it would do it.
Awesome. Okay, you can carry on now.
Great. Oh, I deleted my reference. Sorry. Okay. Now, so what I'm going to do is just over here, just set position. No, I didn't have the calculator activated. Set position, and it's on 0 here. Okay, so as I said in the introduction in the presentation, Mistika does not have a bespoke tool for a conform check. So we're going to have to use the Mistika Effects tool to do this. And generally, I normally work with one specific tool, which is the wipes. So normally, the wipes are the ones I use most, but we're going to learn how to do several different ones in today's session. So thing I do is I press, I select my reference clip here, press wipe and select. Normally I choose this one here, which is a wipe with and actually I'm going to show this on its own first. Okay, so here in an empty part of my timeline, I'm going to press wipe again and choose it, because wipe effects in Mistika, when they are not, when they have no input configured in it, no input in the node effect here. So if I go here for node graph for a second, not that one. Okay, Mistika just left me really bad there right now for a second. Okay, when it doesn't have any inputs, it could work as a generator as well. And in this case, obviously it's generating black and white wipe of going from A to B. A is the white, I think A is the B clip, and black is the A clip. So over here, I'm going to actually remove the animation there, 50, and actually I reduce the strip here. Normally I reduce it to 10 or 13. Whoa, sorry. I reduce this to 13, okay? And normally that's how I leave this. Actually now if I copy it, I'm gonna get rid of this one and place it here. I select it. Okay. Here now, the difference for the wipe stripe effect here right now is that now it's going to have 2 inputs. Okay, so now if I do go to the node graph here, and over here we're seeing obviously the fade up. we can see the white stripe now is having their 2 inputs, 1 and 2. Okay, so that is it. If we see this in our eval tree here, we can see that the white stripe has legend there, well, text telling this is the wipe in and this is the wipe out. Okay, but as we have right now, as we've defined before, there is no animation right now, so we are seeing the whole edit to basically do the conform check and just be sure that everything is correct. One thing that I'm going to do here, and this is for navigation purposes, and because we're going to use more effects to conform check our edit, I'm going to go to the macros over here and press split conform. Okay, what this is going to do is propagate the cuts of the edit to the clips that are on top or above. It doesn't really matter. Okay. But it's going to cut the reference clip and the wipe stripe. The reason I'm going to do this, you're going to see it later, is because for navigation purposes, it's going to improve the navigation. And also, we could be very specific in some part. If we don't want to use the wipe stripe and use something else, we could easily replace it. And actually, I'm going to press split conform. And there you go. Mistika just propagated the cuts here. And now let's start looking at our medium, at our edit. We can see here in our edit that the clip with this kind of light green, remember that these are Timewarps, okay? And this is something that we will obviously work on right now. But the difference between these light greens and the other clips is that the other green, dark green clips not have their speed modified, but the other ones have, okay? And you can see here that the speed it's been modified to has been 125%. So I'm going to double click on the wipe stripe here and just double check here. And actually, what I could do is even play this if I wanted to here. And we could say that that's been conformed correctly. One thing that did not come up correctly in the XML is the fades here. We could see that Mistika is reading these. I'm going to check this as kind of a mix with the next shot. But in the edit, we could see here, if I double click in the edit alone, we could see that actually it's fading out and then it's fading in. How I'm going to change this? Well, actually quite quickly here, I'm going to go to my mix here and press fade down. I'm just going to put it on top, get rid of the previous one and just place it over the clip here, and over here, mix, fade up, and do exactly the same. Okay. I'm checking the chat and see if there's any more questions. Can I create macros myself? No, not yet. No, not in the software at least. But I don't know if you could use maybe a Stream Deck or something. That is something that I would actually love to play with. And does it matter whether you have any clip selected before you press split conform? No, it doesn't matter whether you have any clip selected before you press split conform. It will actually just propagate the clips. The best way to protect any clip that you don't want to be split or cut in this case is to lock them, okay? And that will lock the position and obviously lock the clip as well, and it won't be cut, okay? So we've changed the fade downs and the fade ups. And now if we compare it in the wipes here, the wipe stripe here for a second, we could see that now it matches a lot better. Okay, now let's go to the next clip. And here in the next clip, whoa, Okay, something definitely isn't working here. What is going on? Well, what is going on is that obviously over here, some shots are obviously resized in our edit here. So we obviously have to or adjust them or find the right way, because they're also mirrored. And in this case, this shot, I believe it's mirrored as well. So if I just double click here on the shot here, we can see that actually it's zoomed in to part of the image that isn't actually, it's not helpful. And if we see the reference here, full screen, we could see that obviously there we're not following the action that we need to. Then obviously what we can do is obviously we are seeing here the attributes of the clip, and we can see there's also an animation that's been imported, and we can see that perfectly moves inside the frame. And also we have different options of the result size of our clips and everything. And here the fit width or whatever, this will impact, and maybe sometimes you would have to choose something else. That we'll think if we are going one-to-one here. We see that obviously that is not the option that we need. If we go pad to fit or crop to fit, it's exactly the same, because the source footage is at the same aspect ratio. So let's see if it's the mirror here that we need to correct. Let's see it with a wipe stripe. And no, the wipe stripe says that it's not the horizontal mirror. It's not a vertical mirror. Oh, but this one is a lot closer. Okay, so we did a full 180 degrees rotation, but we can see it's not perfectly matched. So, and maybe this wipe stripe is not helpful for this operation that we want to do. We are going to do a difference Boolean here to see this a lot better. So I'm going to get rid of the wipe stripe. And over here, I'm going to apply channels effect. And in this channels effect, I'm just going to double click, open my red, green, and blue channels. And the operation that I'm going to choose is difference, difference, and difference. Okay, and now here with my difference effect, now I have two options. I could offset the clips inside the attributes over here, or I could use these this panel over here and move this by pixel. So if I wanted to move this a very specific pixel, I could do it as well. Okay, so you could actually choose how precise you want to be, if you want to use this in pixels, or if you want to use this in percentages. Okay, so one thing that we're going to do that I haven't done with the previous one here in this wipe stripe is actually going to change the name of the wipe stripe effect here, and I'm going to call it Conform check underscore wipe, say columns. And I'm going to save this actually as a preset. So I'm going to go to my presets here. And for a second, we could, if you remember correctly, last week we saved presets of our grades here. And now I'm going to go here into my global presets here for a second. And just going to double click, and this is empty right now. And I'm going to set the destination folder of this preset. Just going to click here in set destination, and it's going to be in the this as the global presets. What we're going to do here is actually going to save this preset for any conforms that we're going to do in the future. So I'm going to press create, and actually just say conform check wipe, and let's see for columns. Okay, so that is easy, and over there we could see it saved a preset of that. And in this next one where I did channels, I'm actually going to do something similar. Conform check difference. So this is conform check difference, and now I'm going to save it here as well. Okay, just click and say difference. And now I don't have to build them. I already have these two types of conform checked already created. And then the only thing I have to do is next time I come up with a shot that might be critical, let's see this other new top shot here as well. Okay, over here, what I'm going to do is actually get rid of this one. Just double click here and say, okay, difference, and then just be sure that I apply that here. And then with my presets, just be sure that I apply the correct rotation. And over here, this one is slightly out, and just with offset here, I'm just moving it into position and seeing it really well with my difference conform check option here. Okay, so this is one way of doing this. Okay, now next shot that we are looking here. Okay, we can see that this is okay. Yeah, I think it is a time warp, but I think it actually looks all right. So let's go to the next shot. Okay, and again, same thing here than before. Let's quickly, before I do anything, let's put rotate 180 degrees. And over here, this one did come across correctly. So this one is correct, okay? So that is good to know. Let's check this other wipe stripe here, okay? And this one we could see this is a time warp effect, and this one looks like it's a bit off, okay? So how are we going to change this here? So obviously one click in the eval tree to select the time warp effect. If I select here my time frame and I see it in my keyframe graph, I could see obviously here that there is the animation there of what is going on. Sometimes might just be a frame off. And over here in Mistika, there is an option here, you can see here, that says shift. And this shift operation is exactly the same as the one that we have in the timeline here, that is shift. And what it does, it's actually easier to see in the visual editor here for a second. It will shift one shot. If we wanted to, I have to select the clip. It will shift one frame, that clip. And over there, we could see that it was just out for a frame, but oh, what's going on? There, oh, it's changing again. Okay, so maybe there is another difference here. We have different options in our time warps, and especially in the time warps that we have, where you have different modes. You have nearest mode, blend, and you can see here it's blending frames, and this is not exactly what we want for this. We could use a motion estimation time warp here with warp, and then these vectors and slopes are just visual information there that we could see later on. In this case, we could use nearest or warp, and those are going to give us the best results. But we saw here that actually moving it a frame corrected only there for the frame that we were. But what if we want to adjust this individually per frame? Well, what we could do is I can select the time time parameter here, and I could maybe put activate the order key, and with Alt pressed, you're going to see here that I'm going to go decimal by decimal here, okay? And Mistika has applied a keyframe in that point, okay? So now I can easily move and adjust the time warp effect as needed wherever I need to do it, okay? A thing that I'm realizing here is that there is a fade here just exactly as we had in the past. Let's do this quickly. Add, whoops, no, it's a mix. Whoops, not fade up. It's a fade down, but I don't need to call it again. Just by pressing R, it will reverse it, okay? And convert it into a fade down. And in this case, this is a fade up. I'm gonna remove this one and put it on top. Okay, and same thing here, fade down and fade up. Get rid of these two and apply them. Let's now double check any others that we might have, because it's going to be exactly the same. Mistika interprets them as mixes and they're not. So we just add a fade down mix here and a fade up. Get rid of the old ones, just add them here. And then the final one where we have another one, and this one is just a fade down. Gonna get rid of this. And here we could see that the edit was slightly longer. Here I'm just peaky and being a bit more, well, I really like to match completely. So normally what I do here is I select anything that obviously is remnant. I think remnant is the right word. Just apply a solid and put it at the bottom there. So actually there is a one-to-one. Obviously, they match completely, one-to-one. Okay, so I believe we just did this shot over here, and we can go to this other shot. No, that one is correct. Let's go to the next shot. Yeah, we've done this one. This one looks right. And maybe if we're jumping from shot to shot, this is a solid, we don't want to see this wipe. We want to see a picture in picture. So let's just build a picture in picture quickly, okay? So what I'm going to do here is actually apply a Conform effect. Go to the effects and add Conform, which I slightly forgot where it is right now. And I'm finding my way. Yeah, I found it. Sorry. When you learn the hotkey, you stop using it. Okay, so over here, when I double click here with the Conform, we could see that the Conform is seeing layer 1 and layer 2. And I only have one layer here. So come to the layer tab and add the second layer, just to be completely sure. And right now, as this is a 3D comp, we are just seeing the layer 2, which is comped on top of layer 1, okay? But to change that, I'm going to change the set position just by a decimal. Remember here with Alt, you can move the decimals of the parameters. If you don't use Alt, okay, let me reset this. It will go by a single number every time you drag and drop. If you press Shift, it will go 10 by 10. If you press Control, 100 by 100. If you press Shift Alt, that is 100th, right? Or no, 1,000th. And Control Shift, there you go. Just the second decimal there. It's the one that will change things. Okay. Anyway, here just to bring it forward 0.1, my layer 1. And then here what I'm going to do is, without the keyframe graph, just size, change it to 50% of this, and just put it there at the bottom, so I'm seeing it. And over here now I have a picture-in-picture option to do my conform check. And if I see this in my record monitor, that's how I would see it. And now, just to do the same thing as we did with the previous ones, conform check PIP, picture-in-picture. And I'm also going to save a preset of this. So now we have it for anything that we want in the future. Okay, so there we go. Conform checked picture-in-picture. And that's one option as well. Okay, so we see this here. Now, next wipe stripe here, and we see here that there's a slight difference there in our time warp again. So what we're going to do here, maybe I'd rather prefer to use, instead of a wipe stripe, which I do find helpful, maybe we want to use non-linear mix to do this, okay? And in this non-linear mix, again, just have two inputs. And we could see now that those are not matching in position. First, let me try if the shift is going to work, and there we go. It did work there, and actually that mismatch there was corrected with just one frame. Okay, so now this is the fourth option of my conforms checks options here. I'm just going to go conform check mix. I'm going to put 50, so I know it's 50% mix here, which if we see the attributes, we could see there that it's blended at 50%. Okay, and then just save the preset as well. And call it just mix 50. Okay. I can see the chat is moving a lot. Let me see if there are any questions you want me to. Okay. Oh, America, please join. Well, you can follow this on YouTube later. So, yeah, you can follow this on YouTube, on the SGO channel, and on the ICA channel as well. Okay, so if you really want to come back. Questions over here. Did your fades get split because of the split conform? Is that what they were wonky? No, they did come up like that in the XML. I don't know why. I think it is because of, well, this actual project, it came from Premiere, it went to Resolve, it came into Mistika. So it is, maybe there's many things in the way why it's wonky, but it did come up like that. But anyway, I'm showing you how to fix that and how to correct it. And it's a good exercise to learn Mistika and learn how to problem solving when these things pop up, because sometimes they pop up and we don't really know the cause when we do these type of conforms. Next question, can you load a preset in the visual editor, or do you have to be in the timeline? A preset is actually loaded in the visual editor. So if I come here actually, if I select a preset here, just select it, I can actually say replace, and it will replace it. Or I can actually tell Mistika to put it on top, and it will put it on top in this case. Obviously here it doesn't have two inputs, and that's why it is odd like that. But you could ask it to replace it or to put it on top from the visual editor, which is quite handy, especially when you're doing this. Okay. Next question. Fixing time warp, bravo. Yeah, that is one way of fixing time warps. One can just hope there will be a universal standard for Conform and time warps. Yeah, I really hope so. I mean, yeah. Can we make a preset for the Com3D for other projects? Oh, never mind. Yes, you can. Actually, the reason why I'm saving these presets in global presets over here, okay, just be sure that when you set the destination folder, you're sure that you're activating global presets, because if not, it will save it in the preset folder of the project. Okay, this would be like the power grades in Resolve. You would have the power grades, and you'll have your stills. Over here, you would have your presets that are just project dependent, and the global presets that are accessible from every single project out there. Okay. Next question. No, that was America that they had to leave. She had to leave, and we're going back to our normal flow of the class. So you've seen here that I've done 4 different types of conform checks here, and what I'm going to do is actually put them here all in one on top of each other here, because what I want to show you is one cool thing that we can do. Actually, I'm going to start just with a conform check here. Outcomes. Remember, I told you that when it doesn't have an input, the wipe node effect works as a generator, right? Okay. But we can also build dummy effects in Mistika that are going to build a stack for us. We could create a stack of effects and then just apply them over the clips, and it will perform all the effects for us. And we just have to save it as a preset here. And this is exactly what we're going to do. I'm going to go to my effects panel here and press here dummy 1. And I'm going to press here dummy 2. Okay. And if I double click on dummy 1, you can see that, well, it's a black and white ramp with a red box in the middle. If I double click on dummy 2, it's actually that same black ramp, but with 2 boxes. Okay. What these mean, what this 1 box means and these 2 boxes mean, is that this dummy clip is going to be replacing anything in the stack that is defined as input number 1. And this one over here is going to perform any operation that we apply in the effect as input number 2. And what we're going to do is actually select this and group it, plus group. And you can see now it has a very odd color. It doesn't have the normal green color of a group. It now has also a range like other effects do, exactly the same as other effects do. And now if I select it here, put it on top of this clip, and drag the range on top of the other clip, you can see it will do exactly the same of what it was doing before. So when we are dealing with a single node effect, it might be easier to save a preset, but we're going to build a preset of presets. Okay, so actually, I'm going to open this, and going to get my conform check difference effect here, do exactly the same. I paste it on top so it adjusts automatically to the size. I open the range so it already finds two inputs. I clone dummy 1 and dummy 2 and put it underneath. I'm going to do the same thing with the picture-in-picture. Okay, same thing. I'll just copy it. Just paste it on top so it adjusts to the right size. Put it underneath with 2 spaces for dummy clips 1 and 2. And I'm going to do the same thing with the non-linear mix here. I'm going to copy it. Same thing, adjust to the same size. Bring it down. Copy dummy 1 and dummy 2. And over here, what I'm going to do is select all of them. Actually, let's change the zoom factor so we can see it better. Select all of them and create a group. And it's a dummy group here. And I'm going to call this conform check. And for 1 second, I'm just going to get rid of all the other conform checks that I have here. Copy this one, select all of them, and paste them. Okay, and now here's the cool part, is that groups in Mistika can have layers, okay? One thing I have to do first, actually this is a trick, pay attention. If you lock a node or a clip, effect clip that has a range, it won't move, but it will let you move the ranges of the clip. So actually here we are defining the inputs number 1 and number 2 easily there, okay? Now I unlock it, so now we have input 2 and input 1 defined. And we can see there exactly what we saw before, but we're only seeing the wipe stripe that we chose. But over here, we have group layers. And I'm going to show the record monitor here so you can see it. Once I, in my group layers, say use next layer, it goes to difference. When I go to use next layer, it goes to the picture-in-picture. And when I use next layer, it goes to the non-linear mix that I had before. So now in a single group, I have 4 different presets of my conform check clips, okay, effects. So actually I could change the name of this and say it's conform check. I actually thought I did it. Oh yeah, because I moved it before. Okay, conform check. Double click in this case and actually create a new one. And this is conform check all. So now, when I come to a shot and I see, okay, this one is okay. Here, this one maybe I can use actually my group layer number 4 here. And over here, I could see, yeah, there is a difference here on my time warp here. Let's see if I can fix it with shift. Oh, almost there, but let's see time. Let's go to the first frame, and we see that the first frame is already a bit off. I'm going to press Alt here and Alt key and adjust it. There we go. I'm adjusting it there to the beginning. Let's see if it drifts. It doesn't. It looks like it's fine. Let's go to the next shot. This looks like it's okay. This one might have the same issue as the previous one. Yeah, it kind of does, very slightly. Maybe we could fix this with a shift touch, or maybe not. There we go. It looks like it did. This one wasn't as, this Timewarp wasn't as aggressive. This one, I'm gonna say it's fine. Oh, this one, it's definitely gonna need a little bit more care. So first, let's try the shift option and see if that brings it into position. It doesn't look like it does, but over here, I'm gonna activate the order key, and there we go, adjust it to the end. If I wanna choose another one, remember, I could go here to group layers and go to layer number 4 or layer number 2. And that would be the difference mode. We could see that over there. It's kind of, it's really off over here. There we go. See, drifts off a bit here. Let's see if just, no, we don't have enough reference there. This one does look like it had a dynamic time warp there. And obviously now in a single group, we have all our different conform check options, okay? So just as this dummy clip thing might be confusing sometimes, did we understand how it works? And did we understand the group layers? Great, great. It's great to hear. Great to hear. Good. So we will carry on. Oh, great question. Yeah, that's a very good question. And actually, let's do that. Maybe let's do it something a bit more graphically. What is considered a group? What is considered a layer in a group? Okay, so actually, to put in practice the previous, did I choose this one? This one isn't the most helpful of all. But let me choose another shot. Sorry, guys. Yeah, let's get this one. Might be better to work with. Okay, so here we have the clip, and I'm going to clone it 3 times. Okay, press clone. Mistika's going to ask, yep. I select them, pack them to the left, and I'm going to do a different grade on each one of them. Okay, and this one, I'm going to take it to blue. On the next one, I'm going to take it to red. Next one, I'm going to take it to yellow. And next one, I'm going to take it to green. Okay, just making this like really, really obvious. And then I'm going to align them to the left here. And in this case, it's not a dummy clip, and it's not going to become an effect, but we could use this as a clip that stores different grades. I can't remember where we got it from. It wasn't here. Maybe it was here. Yeah, it was this one. Okay, so I'm going to drop this one and hide it. Let's hide this. And maybe you're with your client and you know you have different grades here, different options here, okay? And if we navigate inside the group, okay, over here in navigation, we can see we have those 4 different versions of that grade. And clearly here you're showing here the 2 options to your client if you wanted to, and you go, I'm going to show him my layer number 4. And actually what defines layer number 4 is just different. And you can see the colors change. In this case, when it's a group, it's not an effect. The colors of the layers change. They go darker the lower you go inside that group effect. Okay, so that is something to show. I'm going to show the record monitor there so we can see the changes. If I use layer 1, that's the blue one, layer 2, layer 3, layer 4. Basically, what it does, it's ignoring the previous stacks that are on top of when you choose the latest option over here. Okay, so that's what defines a layer inside a group layer, inside a group, because every group that has a break is going to be considered a group layer. You could use these, for example, to build your own cache. If you don't want to use the caching system inside Mistika, because the caching system in Mistika is defined by the video output. So it's going to render to the resolution of the video output. But maybe you want to do your own cache and you want to kind of optimize the media and create a 4K source resolution file to work with, but you put it on top of your original media and then you group it. But then maybe the client asks, oh, could you change the exposure in the raw media here? Oh, you would just then say, okay, I can do it. It's not going to be the cache media, but you could go maybe to the raw media and change it for you there. So actually, it provides a flexibility to build your timelines with different things. I wanted to show it to you with the Conform check tool, so you could create your own preset and actually have a Conform check tool inside Mistika, okay? And but you could use it for many different things. I remember using this option for promos when I was working at Sky Television. What we did was we had different graphics with different days, and depending if it was Monday at noon or Monday at Sunday, especially if it was football games, soccer games, it would be Saturdays or Sundays, and I would just choose the day and the time just by using the different layers, because the games were always at the same time, and I just had to choose the different day or time for the different games, and I did that with graphics. So you could do that as well with dummy clips and group layers. So a blank track in the time space defines where one layer stops and another starts. Correct, yes. And layer refers to, no, it would be to that kind of stack within that group, okay? Can you navigate into the group? Yes, you can navigate into the group. One thing that I didn't show you, actually, yeah, there's a feature request here. It would be cool to change the layer here inside the visual editor. You can't do it. But over here, you can navigate in the group here in the visual editor. But also, you can navigate in here, navigate inside the group. And also what is interesting is also you can navigate inside Timewarp as well, okay? But you need to be careful, because as soon as you change anything here, and you can see here we're using the whole clip maybe here for this Timewarp, Mistika might say, for example, I'm going to show it to you with something less critical here. just gonna copy this again. Oops, I'll delete that. I convert this into a timeline clip, but I navigate in. And then I decide, well, my starting points are different. I really want other starting points and make it smaller. When I navigate out, Mistika is going to ask me again if I want to adjust the curve or reset the time warp. If I reset the time warp, it's going to go back to 100, and then I'll have to build it up again. So those are the different options. When you do this with something that's been conformed, be careful, because it will lose the incoming curve sometimes. So that's why I also protect the conform at the bottom. Okay, just in case I mess something up, I could recover how it was originally. That's why I do it. And as you mentioned before, we wish there was a standardized way of doing time warps. The time warps are so tricky that I really want to save myself some time when doing time warps in conforms and stuff like that. So what do you guys think if we kind of finish here the conform? I think there's not many clips we have to go through. Okay, what time is it? Okay, we got 45 minutes, and I think we still have a few things to talk about. Let me see. Yeah, let's finish. I think we are going in a good pace. Let's finish our conform here quickly. One thing that I could have done and I didn't do was, no, this one was the last shot that we worked on. And now we could learn this. For example, here, if I click on an empty part of the timeline and I press K, it would put a marker. And that marker there could define, well, this was the last shot I conformed. And I could also go here to notes and say, create notes and say, last checked clip. Press escape, and obviously I could leave that there for later if I come back. Okay, I can see that. You could also change the color of the text or anything depending on what you want. Okay, so I could have put that marker before I started explaining other things. So over here, we come here and we see that this is a classical resize issue, but I guess it's going to be the rotation, and yeah, it's perfectly there. Okay, let's go next shot. This one is a time warp, and it looks like it did come up correctly. There's a few. Oh, Jeff commenting that Sally thinks that Premiere is the de facto standard for time warps. So all the other apps conform to it. That's a great comment. Thanks, Jeff. So let's carry on. So we finish here with a few things. This looks like it's correct. Oh, but this is an interesting one. Okay. No, I think it's fine. Time warp wise, I think it's fine. But I do feel if we play it in real time, it's a bit bumpy. So this is the shot that we're going to stabilize. And it's especially bumpy because I think it's been accelerated 400%. So it makes complete sense that it's been bumpy. Okay, so we'll come back to that once this is done. Okay, this one looks like it's fine. By the way, I'm jumping from shot to shot, pressing Control right button in my cursors in my keyboard. Okay. Over here, these wide shots have all looked really well. I can see here already. Cool thing of building this with Node Effects in Mistika is that the snapshots here update, so you could actually anticipate anything that might be wrong. Again, here, I guess this is 180 degree rotation, and in this case, except for the first two clips that we had in our edit, all the other ones actually, we just had to change the rotation, and that was it. Here, oh, this one looks like we have to play with it a little bit more. Let's go to the beginning. Looks like it's fine there. To the end, let's see if maybe Shift has corrected it. And it looks like it has, yes. Just shifting the clip for one frame has adjusted the time warp there. Okay, over here we see that our fade down is correct and our fade up here isn't, because I guess, again, that rotation now is correct, is spot on. And this one looks like it's a bit off, doesn't it? Here, auto key, and that looks better. Yeah, that looks better. Okay, and this would be the last shot. So, oh, yeah, and it kind of goes away there for a second. And sadly, we can't see there. Let's hope just by shifting that clip for one frame, it gets adjusted, and it looks like it does. And there we go. So we've conformed our timeline. And now, well, we could save this here and just leave it there if we wanted to, and maybe just have it there just in case if we need to use it as a reference. Sometimes the client is going to say, oh, but how was it in the edit? And you really want to keep it there. But then it might interfere with any other grading stack that you do. So you could actually also move it on top if you want to, and then drag it if you need anything else. Now, that's not the last one that we have, so I'm going to come here to notes and say delete all notes. Okay, going to see record monitor. Sorry, I'm so used to having a monitor outside that I forget to get the record monitor shown here. Okay, so over here we had this shot that was accelerated 400%. What I'm going to show you here right now is the start and end play markers, okay? If you select a clip and press W, it will put the play markers there. And here with the play markers, what you have is you have three options of play, and it will just do a single play of the clip and stop. When it gets to the end, okay. You could also kind of swing. So once it gets to the back, then it will reverse or just loop, okay, if we wanted to. I think that if we see this, we could see that the shot is moving a bit. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is apply a Comp3D effect. Gonna go here, Comp3D. And in this case, in the Comp3D, we're only going to have one layer. So when I go here to background, it's going to be solid. You could say if it's going to be input 1 or if it's going to be a solid. And in this case, it's going to be input 1. And to stabilize this shot, well, I'm not going to stabilize it. I'm just going to smooth it a bit. We're going to use the tracker and do a single point tracker. So I'm double clicking here just to view this without the Comp3D interfering with anything. I'm going to go to my tracking module, and there's already a tracker in, tracker 0. I'm going to choose this point here. Okay, I select it, and in this case, in the middle, I'm just going to press both. I mean, go both ways, and there we go. It's following that point. Okay, that looks good. And now I'm going to double click on the Comp3D. And in the Comp3D, I'm going to select my layer number 1 here. And obviously here we will have the option of seeing transform, attributes. And in this case, we're not interested in deform or crop, and actually just the transform options. So I've only needed 1 point. I bet there's other shots, maybe some of the table shots might need also some stabilization. I will let you guys play with that and maybe tell me in the next week if you found anything tricky or anything that needed 2 tracking points. But basically, if you have the tracker information there, and you have, obviously you're in the tracking window, you have the possibility of choosing how you want to apply this. If you want to move, if I press move, now it's going to move the whole clip just as it was tracked, okay? That's not what we want. If we hit stabilize, okay, and this is important, okay? I'm going to actually use stabilize rather than smooth now to show you, actually this is, and something I think that it's better than in other systems. You choose where the anchor point is in the keyframe graph, okay, in the keyframes here. If I choose that my first frame is going to remain untouched, I'm going to press stabilize here, and obviously the position there of my first frame is the one that's going to be defining how this clip is being stabilized. If I decide that it's going to be the end, I'm going to press stabilize here, and you can see here that it goes 0, 0. But if we go to our first frame here, we can see that now it's minus 56 and minus 10. And when we applied it there, it was 0, because that we defined that how we want to do the stabilization. In this case, the frame that we want to anchor this from is the last frame of the clip. In this case, I don't think it really matters for this. No, maybe it does, because the next shot is exactly the same. And maybe let's do that. I'm going to smooth the movement from the last frame here, okay? So there we see that this last frame is unaltered. And then we could see, obviously, all the animation going to the end. And one cool thing here is if I go to background and go to my color swatch here, I'm going to say here, my background color, just show me red. And that can show me if I'm showing any background there. But I'm going to go to the next shot and actually smooth that one as well. So apply another Com3D here and actually track that same point. I'm gonna delete this tracker and insert a new one. If you press insert in your keyboard, you'll have a new one, okay? If you press add tracker here, it will add another one here. And say go forward. Oh, there we go. Just if we want to offset this now, maybe we could offset it there. Let me double check. Let's hope it stays there. So obviously here I could go to that. That's when we lose it. With offset, you have to press Alt and you'll be able to offset the tracker, okay? And then go forward again. Oh, just at the very end, we lost it. Okay, so maybe here we just offset 1 second here. And if you just want to go one frame, you go just next frame. Sorry, guys. So from here that we lose it a bit. There we go. Now it jumps. Okay, let me go back here. Let's see if there's something else I can track. It's a bit too far off there, but well, sorry, this wasn't successful. Sorry, guys. Let's go back. So you can see here, not everything is rehearsed over here. Okay, so I got this point here. I'm just gonna track it manually from here and to where I lose it. Okay, so to show basically this, what I wanted to do is I'm in the Com3D. Now in the tracker, I'm going to position the tracker where it should be. And it's going to shake a little bit at the end there, okay? But if I go here to layer 1 and go to my first frame and choose smooth, and over here, again, I'm also going to add the background there. So when we see it, we know when we're out there. You can see in this previous Com3D, I have another axis, axis number 2 here. And over here, I do need to zoom in a bit more. So over here, it does jump in a lot. So let's say I go 110% here, and 110% here, size Y in another axis, okay? And there we could see that now we are safe there. I do exactly the same thing on the other one. Go to axis number 2 and choose 110. 110 might not be exactly necessary here. But then if I choose record monitor, let's view it. Let's make this smaller here so we don't view the whole edit. Okay, in our play markers, go to the start, double click. And it should smoothly, we could see that there's no jump between the two shots because we chose to define the first frame of one clip to be the anchor of one stabilization and choose the other one. The other thing we could have done, actually, but I haven't checked, is maybe group these two and stabilize the whole thing. That's something else that we could have done. And then the other thing here as well, if we want to keep this tidy, maybe we do want to group this into a single clip. It's the same shot and it's going to have the same grade. So it might be interesting to have it like this. Okay, so any questions about this? Sorry, that took a little bit longer than I thought. The logo to the tracked point, you would choose move. You would choose move, but maybe that's an exercise that we could maybe do later on, or maybe next week, because now actually what I'm going to do is show quickly how we're going to import graphics, okay? So let's do that here for a second. Okay, so one thing I'm going to do here now is I'm going to lock these two shots. You can lock clips, you can lock tracks here in Mistika. As you can see here now, those tracks are now locked. And we're going to conform an EDL now. And in this EDL, okay, if I go to my Mistika Essentials documentation EDL, and this is just an EDL that's going to have the graphics. I'm gonna go, in this case, I do want to search the media after import next. And in this case, the path is ICA Mistika Essentials, GFX, and press perform. Your new conform shots will overlap with something that is existing. Oh yeah, it just went to the bottom there. Okay, anyway, that is the sound there. Let me just get rid of that. That's annoying. This was the sound that actually was split conformed, unfortunately. Let me tidy this up in a second. And this was the okay. Now I have the graphics here. And we could see these graphics, we saw them on the first day. That is the title. And we could only see it in the alpha channel here. One thing I don't like of this is obviously it comes from the EDL, and in the EDL it does say that you need to freeze the frame and then you need to apply a fade in, fade out. In this case, for example, the fade in and the fade out has been correctly translated. So what I'm going to do here is actually clone this for a second and ungroup it. And then I have the single frame. And what I'm going to do here is select this and get duration, select my graphic and say set duration. And now I have the frozen frame there, and I don't need these time warps that actually aren't really useful. It's much better to work with a frozen frame here. And it's going to be the same case with this one here. I'm going to ungroup it, get duration, set duration, get rid of the time warps there, just put that on the bottom, and then we'll deal with how we comp them. This is going to be exactly the same. Whoops, I accidentally double clicked. Open this, get duration and set duration. Okay, get rid of these. And here at the bottom, at the very end of our edit, same thing, I'll clone this, ungroup it, get duration and set duration. And now I'm dealing with a frozen frame. I don't need to deal with any time warps or any tricky clips or anything. Let's go at the beginning. Let's go at the first title effect here. I'm going to remove the two blocked tracks there. So right now, I'm not gonna care too much about the fades right now. I'm gonna leave them there. If I add a Comp3D here right now, and use that as layer 1 here, my Comp3D is showing, actually it's not showing the graphic titles here. It's only at the very end when it fades out. That's not the order that I want, actually. And if I show this in my node graph, we could see that we can see the fade up there as well. My input number 1 is the graphic, and input number 2 is the edit. I actually would want this to be the other way around. So what I need to do there is actually invert the order here. So put it at the bottom, and then now with the Comp3D, now it does apply the text, okay? But maybe this is not exactly what I wanted. Let's see. Now I am going to put the fades in and fades out and see what happens. Okay, what are we dealing with here? Let's see. Is this something we can work with? Oh, obviously it's fading from black, so it kind of goes gray. So that's not exactly what we want as text. Maybe what could be easier, instead of having this kind of solid white, that we only have the alpha channel, and this is a good exercise as well to kind of see, okay, they didn't send us the graphics as we wanted to. It's actually, we could play with the alpha channel. And one of the options that we have is come here to show alpha and click show to the alpha effects and go show alpha. And now we are actually exporting the alpha channel here to the RGB channels. So now that's exactly what we would want, right? So that might be helpful as well. So let's see how that looks now. So now I have my show alpha as input number 2, but oh, what happens? Oh, now it's the alpha channel is completely solid. Okay, so what can we do? Well, why don't we go to RGB here and say, well, let's multiply this by alpha 1, multiply this by alpha 1, and multiply this by alpha 1. And here, instead of 1 here, we actually want X only now. So now we can see that the alpha channel here is this one, and the black and the RGB is that one there. So now when I come through now we do see that, okay? And actually now we could have the blends, but what if we don't want to use the blends there, the effects? We could actually get rid of them. Let's see the duration of these. It's just 12 frames, okay? And I guess get duration here, 12 frames as well. We could do this with Comp3D. And actually, I'm going to put the fade on top of the Comp3D here. So it's not bothering us at all. So I come here to layer number 1. And in attributes blend, I alter key and say, okay, yeah, this is going to be 100. 12 frames later, no, sorry, it's going to be 0. Yeah, sorry, got confused there. 12, 100, and then same thing about the other way around. Here, it's going to be 100, and then 83. So from 100 to 0 there. And actually, that's what we see. But obviously here we're seeing, sorry, my bad here. In the background, I want to say input 1. And now the text is fading in and fading out. But let's have a closer look to the text here. And we can see there it's like very, it's gritty and, well, it's not really nice, is it? There's several things that we could do with that. Obviously, in the options here of our Comp3D, we could choose to do samples. This will multiply the edges of the alpha channel there to make them smoother. But in this case, I actually think the original image is too much of the really high resolution. So that's why we have it like this. But maybe what we could do here is actually go to our timeline, select the channels effect, and apply here a blur over here. And in the blur, okay, what I'm seeing here, we could, if we go to units and we are in an HD project, I can type in 1920, okay? And in 1920 here, then I choose the radius, and in the radius, I'm gonna say, I wanna kind of blur this with a Gaussian blur of maybe 2 pixels, and there we go, that is 2 pixels, but what's going on? Oh, there's a little bit of an edge coming up there. Why is that? Well, it's because we're doing the blur only in RGB. We can do it in RGB and alpha, okay? And there we would have it. And then obviously in the Comp3D, we also have the option of premultiplying. And then now that looks slightly better, okay? Maybe it's gone way too soft. Let's drag it there, 1. And I think that is better. Now, here, this little I that we have in our Evo tree is our bypass, and we can bypass that effect here, okay? And that is something that we could definitely do over here, okay? So that's something that we could do here. And in the timeline, we could also do it if we see it in the record monitor. Here, you select the clip and you press D, and you will deactivate it, of course. Okay, so we have this stack, and maybe, well, we could do something similar with this other one. Let me see time with 10 minutes to go. I think you got the idea of what we could do with a Comp3D, but let's quickly do something similar here, okay? In this case, with the channels effect, what I'm going to do is actually multiply this with the alpha channel. Okay, that's exactly how it comes in the alpha channel. And apply Conform with Alt3. Okay, let's put this on top there for a second. And here in layer 1, we have two options, obviously. We would have had the option of transforming the graphic here, putting 50 and 50 in the attributes of the clip, okay, and offsetting this, offsetting this to one side, okay, and maybe down to the bottom. We could have done that in the attributes panel, of course, maybe 35. Too small, okay. We do it there, or we could do this obviously in the Conform effect. Okay, so in the Conform effect, we could actually, if I choose background input 1, and I choose layer here with Control, I can make it smaller. Alt, remember we saw this the other day. Alt will always rotate inside of Mistika. Okay. And Shift will change the position. So that might be easier to do with the Conform effect. Things that we could also do here and might make more sense in this shot than in the previous one is we could add shadow. And let's just be aggressive here by adding the intensity here to 100. And here, obviously, we could also choose a blur if we want to, and then kind of blur it if we consider this necessary. And again, as we did before, maybe the alpha channel here is too strong in this case, way too strong. We can add, again, another blur effect, but this time maybe say, oh, I just want to work in the alpha channel. And in the alpha channel, say, okay, let's just apply 1 pixel blur here in the alpha channel. Let's see how it looks in the Conform there. Okay, we will need to multiply it now on top here in blended mode. And oops, we lose a little bit samples. I'll put it there in 15, and then we see now it's much smoother. Okay, so now you have different things to work with here. But what have we learned today? We've learned today that there is these things that are called dummy clips. And it's a very cool way of tidying up our timeline as well. We use the dummy clips to create our conform check tools, but we could also do them to kind of sort out our timeline and make it tidier. So in this case, between the Gaussian alpha blur that I'm doing here and the Com3D, I'm going to effects and apply a dummy clip 1. Okay, and there we go. We could see our graphic is being applied on top of that element that we saw before of black and white ramp with a red box. And now I group it. And now this is something that I can easily apply on top of my clip, and it's not really bothering me as much. In my timeline when I'm working, if I have to. And here, obviously, we still need to maybe apply the grades from the other day and whatever. Okay, so that is something that we could do here. Okay, so for the final 10 minutes, do you want me to explain the denoise tools, or do you want me to explain some of this again? Let me know. Denoise, okay. I was confused that you tracked the shot with the shot itself selected in the DVO tree. Yes, that is actually something tricky to think about in Mistika. You could choose, and in some moments it's really cool and really helpful. For example, you've done a heavy grade and they ask you to track something. You could go down to the source and you could go down to the clip. And that tracking information doesn't remain in the shot. It's kind of, let's say it's like a plugin you activate. So actually the last information you tracked will be available there, even though you are in a different shot or in a different part of the timeline. It is something tricky that people, once they work with Mistika, they have to get used to. Yes. Okay, denoise. So here quickly, I'm going to order this shot, this comp as well, by doing exactly the same thing, effects, dummy 1, and grouping it, okay? But I'm gonna leave it underneath here for a second. So denoise, let's go with the Mistika denoise, and actually with the graphics here as well, let's leave that behind. It does kind of go to a copy buffer, yeah, but when you go to the tracker, you have the option of selecting any tracker that you have there to do the tracking. As well as in the timeline, if I press H, I would hide that tracker, and that won't be taken into account when you apply the tracker information, okay? So if you have several trackers and one of them is kind of a bit rogue and it's not tracking like the one I did before, you could press H, hide it, and it wouldn't apply tracking information. Or you could just select it and delete it as well. Okay, so a good shot to see our denoise effect. I think the top shot is actually quite good to work on it, but might have let's do it here. Okay, so go to denoise this shot. We're going to use the Mistika effect. I'm going to get rid of the storyboard. We don't need it right now. Turn off the auto key option. And first, I'm going to use the Mistika denoise. And in the Mistika denoise tool, here, just click over here. We have obviously our menu here where we have the number of frames that we're going to take into account, because this is a time-based denoise, the mode, and how much of spatial denoise we're going to apply. And the case here is we can analyze how the denoise is working. And the way of doing it here, for example, would be, and this might be a tricky shot, maybe not as noisy. Let me see if there's a better shot here, sorry. Let's actually see it with a wide shot better. Sorry for changing idea, guys. I really want to show it in something slightly better with a bit more information. Okay, so got the denoise effect here. And in the alpha channel, Mistika is showing you how that motion estimation and where those areas that are prone of having artifacts are, where those are. Okay, so if I go here, for example, to temporal here for a second, and let's go for 5 frames, and you can see suddenly it jumps and it shows a much wider region of the shot. And this wider region of the shot is actually all those parts of the image that are prone of having artifacts. And if I go to RGB, we're actually going to see those artifacts here. Okay, because right now I'm just in temporal mode, and we can see those. See, you can see them, how it bounces and how everything kind of breaks up. We're going to narrow that down a little bit. So we then combine temporal and a spatial denoise at the same time. We're going to go to alpha mode. Over here, I'm going to put the scale to 20. And the scale to 20, normally with the end gamma, we want to neutralize the gamma and maybe go to kind of a kind of as gray as possible here. But I think with what we have, 1.0, it should be enough. 1.1 might be slightly better. If the developers say that, see this, they might tell me, no, you have to go 1.2. But honestly, I think with 1 or 1.1 should be enough. And this will actually show us as much as we can narrow down. And we bring the scale back up again for one reason, and is that obviously here with a level, we really want to discriminate that as much as possible. Okay, we choose here if we want to reduce those kind of nowhere land areas there, or kind of in the middle, and then reduce the scale as much as possible. So now if I show the RGB image, we can see we still have those artifacts there, but when I use it combined, they kind of disappear. And normally what I do in spatial is instead of 0.50, I put 0.30. And I don't know, I kind of feel that that slightly works slightly better. And that's how I denoise stuff in Mistika with the Mistika denoiser tool. And the denoiser tool, it's actually something that is very performance heavy. So if I copy this right now, select all the clips here and paste them, would be really difficult. Generally, to kind of improve to get the best of every shot, we would need to tailor the denoise parameters for every shot. But in the case here for this, I think this should be enough. You can see that it's struggling to play real time. It's going to 15 frames per second. So maybe this is something that we really want to cache if we want to. So to cache something in Mistika, you can actually choose the level or the effect you want to cache this on. And in this case, it would be from the denoise effect, and you go here to playback cache, and you say select cache on. And then you get this kind of red C on top, okay? And that red C on top means that the cache hasn't been done yet. So only when you go to play cache and say render current in foreground, in this case, it will render the current shot time in the foreground, and it will do this. I'll do the render, and in a second here we will see it turn from red to green. There we go. It's gone to green now, and now you should be able to play this, okay, in real time, and even work on it if you wanted to, okay. That's only because I hit on render current, but if you go to playback cache and say render pending in foreground, it will render all of them in foreground, okay. And there you go, it's currently rendering. I'm gonna press cancel. One thing that you can do is actually extract. Yes, I want to cancel this process. And see when the render hasn't worked or it's crashed, see we get that checkerboard, okay? That Mistika is telling you that something has gone wrong. We will have to invalidate it. But another thing that you can do here in playback cache is select extract. And it will extract the render that we just did, okay? In the error message that Mistika shows when you do this, let's read it carefully. The extracted clips are not independent from the cache system. Their media can be easily overwritten by following cache updates. So we need to be very careful, but at least you can double check that your media has been rendered properly, just like it was another clip. Okay, as I said before, the cache system in Mistika is dependent on the video output. So it will only render to the resolution of the video output. If you want to do a more kind of a specific cache for your project, if you're working in a 4K project and your video output is HD, you might want to use the output panel here and render this as by timecode that it will split to segments every single shot here and render all these clips. And actually, if I chose here, yeah, I think if I put here cache, it will go to the same. I'm going to hide all the clips that are at the bottom over here. If I do this and say ICA day 3, source clip tape name, clip TC, okay, remove my start and end markers, but my in and out markers are here, and just press foreground. This will now render all those clips. I'm going to cancel this for a second. First, I forgot to explain that if you click select and validate or cache off, you can remove those cached clips that went wrong. Okay. And over here, just to kind of quickly replicate what would happen, although I'm not going to render, I'm just going to press write script only. Yeah, I'm going to overwrite the clips. Here, Mistika will render all these clips individually. I put them on top because we have elements on top here. So it's taken a while. Okay. So sorry guys, this is going really slow right now. So let's think that, okay, this is what we would have done and it would have been applied here. And generally, if you want to use this as your own cache here, what I would do is in edit here, in this macro, I could go and say group segments, and it will just collapse into a single group all those elements that we've selected and put them into single groups. Okay, as these are not really rendered clips, I don't really want to work with these right now. Okay, but let's imagine, okay, we've conformed this. You guys have been working with your grades for the last week or week, and you're saying, oh God, and now how am I going to bring these grades, the grades that I've done last week to this new timeline? Well, I'm gonna do it the other way around. I'm gonna select this, copy, hit my home button and open timeline 01. Do I want to save this? Yes, I do want to save this. And in this timeline, just paste the new conformed clips, align them to the left, get rid of the old ones, and just put them underneath. So in case you've already done grades and you don't want to feel like, oh, do I have to do this again? That's a way of bringing in a whole conform that you've done in the past, and there you go. Now it has the grades that we worked on last week. Okay, so that is for you to kind of feel that obviously we didn't lose any job while doing this. We could still use some of the grades that we worked on last week to these new conform tools, because it's actually the same thing. I just gave you a scene detected sequence of the same edit. So how did it go this? I think the moment I explained the cache system, it got a bit confusing. Maybe we can repeat that next week. How do you guys feel? How did it go?
Yeah, thank you. We learned a lot.
Right. Jeff has a question here. So what's the game with denoising and looking at the alpha channel and temporal? Get rid of gray and make everything either black or white. Try to define as, try to kind of reduce the gray areas as much as possible, okay? Because if there is a gray area and Mistika, and it's shown like it could potentially have an artifact, it will have an artifact. So you really want to discriminate that as much as possible. So when you comp it back, when it comps back the spatial, it gets rid of all the artifacts that are shown. Any other question you might have of today's session? I'm glad you liked it, guys. I really wanted to pack with content these 4 days. That's what I really wanted, and I really want you guys to go with the feeling that, man, anything they throw at you in Mistika is something that you can accomplish, and also try to work smart in Mistika. Mistika is a powerful tool. But yeah, it's also tricky. Great, so I'm going to leave it at here. Thank you all for attending.